You know, when you're listening to a song and you hear these just insane sounds, like futuristic, otherworldly, super rich textures, yeah, chances are you're hearing a synthesizer. So today, let's pull back the curtain and really figure out what's going on inside that machine.
I mean, you look at one of these things, right? It's just this universe of knobs and wires. It looks like a spaceship cockpit. And you think, how in the world does twisting that knob or plugging in that cable create those massive bass sounds or those soaring melodies we hear all the time? Well, that's exactly the mystery we're going to solve.
All right, so before we can even think about building a sound, we kind of have to know what a sound is even made of. We need to speak its language. So what are the absolute fundamental building blocks of any sound you've ever heard?
Turns out it's actually pretty simple. Any sound, and I mean any sound, from a car horn to a beautiful synth pad, boils down to just these three things. You've got pitch, which is just how high or low the note is, tone, which is its unique character, its flavor, right? And volume, which is, how loud or quiet it is. That's it. That's our vocabulary.
Okay, so here's what sound actually looks like, if you could see it. It's a wave. And check this out. The faster these waves are jiggling back and forth, what we call their frequency, the higher the pitch you hear. And see how tall the wave is? That's its amplitude. The taller the wave, the louder the sound. It's the basic physics behind everything from a tiny whisper to a huge explosion. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, so if we're going to build a sound from the ground up, we need some raw material to start with, right? In the world of subtractive synthesis, which is what we're focusing on, that means starting with a really basic, harmonically rich wave.
So let's take a look at the assembly line for our sound. It all kicks off right here with the oscillator. You can think of the oscillator as the heart of the synthesizer. It's the part that generates that first, raw electrical wave. This is our big, uncarved block of marble. It's got potential, but it's not a sculpture yet.
So the most basic block of marble we can choose is the sine wave. It's just a pure, smooth tone. There's no extra grit, no texture, what we call harmonics. It's just the one fundamental note. Think of a tuning fork. That clean, simple boop sound, that's a sine wave.
But what if we want something with a bit more oomph? Well, then we can grab a sawtooth wave. Now this is a much richer starting point. It's bright, it's buzzy, and it contains that fundamental note plus all the related harmonics. This gives us way more to play with when we start sculpting.
And for a totally different vibe, there's the square wave. It has this really distinct character. People often describe it as hollow or warm, kind of like a clarinet. And that's because it only contains the odd-numbered harmonics. So you can already see, just by picking our starting wave, our block of marble, we're making a massive decision about where our final sound can go.
Okay, so we've picked our block of raw sound. Now it's time to grab the chisel and start sculpting. And in subtractive synthesis, our chisel is called the filter. Its entire job is to carve away parts of that raw sound, to shape its character, its tone.
And the most common tool in the box is the low-pass filter. It does exactly what it sounds like. It lets the low frequencies pass through, and it cuts or carves away the high frequencies. You know when you turn the cutoff knob on a synth? That's this. It's like slowly closing the blinds in a bright room. You're making the sound warmer, darker, more muffled.
And then you've got the high-pass filter, which does, well, the exact opposite. It carves away all the low stuff, the bass, the body of the sound, and lets only the high, sparkly frequencies get through. This is perfect for making a sound feel thin, or bright, or kind of delicate.
So what if you want to get really surgical with your sculpting? That's where a band pass filter comes in. It carves away both the highs and the lows, leaving just a narrow slice, a band of frequencies in the middle. This is how you get those cool effects like a voice on a telephone or a song playing through an old radio. So, long story short, the filter is how we shape the tone.
All right, so we've generated a wave and we've sculpted its tone. But what's its story? I mean, how does it behave over time, from the second we hit a key to the second we let go? This is the final, crucial piece of the puzzle.
And that whole story is controlled by something called an envelope generator. This graph here is basically its script. Let's walk through it. Attack. That's how fast the sound goes from silent to full volume when you first hit the key. Is it instant like a drum hit, or does it swell in slowly? Then decay is how long it takes for the sound to drop down to its sustain level. And sustain is the volume it holds at while you're holding the key down. Finally, when you let go, release is how long it takes for the sound to fade away into complete silence. Let's make this real with some examples.
Okay, think about a classic church organ. You press a key, bam! The sound is instantly at full blast. You let go, bam!
It's instantly silent. That's a super fast attack and a super fast, or zero, release. It's basically just an on-off switch. Now, a piano, totally different story. When you hit the key, the sound is right there. That's a fast attack. But then it immediately starts to fade out naturally, even if your finger is still on the key. That's its decay. It has a natural life story.
And what about a string section in an orchestra? The sound doesn't just appear, does it? It swells in gracefully. That's a slow attack. And when they stop playing, the sound hangs in the air for a moment before it disappears. That's a slow release. So by messing with this envelope, we're literally giving our sound a personality, a behavior. So there you have it. We've gone from nothing to a complete, sculpted sound. But, the fun doesn't have to stop there. There are other cool tricks we can use to add movement and complexity, to really make our sound feel like it's breathing.
And this is one of the biggest secrets, the LFO, or low-frequency oscillator. Now, this oscillator is so low, we can't actually hear it. Instead, it acts like an invisible hand that automatically turns other knobs for us over and over again. So you could have it gently wobble the pitch up and down to create vibrato, like a singer does. Or you could have it open and close that filter we just talked about, giving you that classic wah-wah effect. The LFO is what takes a static, boring sound and makes it feel alive and dynamic.
So everything we've talked about today falls under the umbrella of subtractive synthesis. We started with something rich and carved bits away. But you should know that's just one way to do it. There's also additive synthesis, which is the opposite. You build sounds by stacking up lots of simple sine waves. Or think about those classic 80s digital sounds. That's often FM synthesis, where you get crazy complex tones by having oscillators mess with each other. This is just to show you there's a whole universe of different ways to create sound out there.
So, we've made the whole journey from a simple raw wave to a fully shaped, moving, breathing sound. And you now get the core toolkit. The oscillator gives you the raw material, the filter shapes the tone, and the envelope tells its life story. This isn't just a bunch of technical jargon, this is a recipe for creation. You have the building blocks, so the only real question left is, what sounds are you going to create?